Om. Om. Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om. Offering my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most merciful Mother Sai, whose grace is on us every week when he brings his gems, his students, talking through on their experiences at his lotus feet. As students of the Sri Satheswar Institute of Higher Learning. And today I'm so happy that I have not one but quite a few who belong to the same batch as my brother when he was in Brindavan. And we have someone who is known to bring the alumni forces together wherever he is, Brother Pawan, who will have the honor of introducing our speakers for today. Over to you, brother. Yeah.
Sairam, offering my most humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I would say that the opportunity, whenever is given to us, it is an opportunity where we think, go back to the times where we have spent with Swami and cherish those moments and relive those moments so that we are energized and also we pass on our experiences to others to bask in the love of Swami. In that theme line, today we have three wonderful brothers who have studied along with me and Vivekanand in Brindavan campus from 1994 to 1997, and we all had a wonderful time. So let me introduce one by one. The speaker number one is Ashish Sud. Ashish Sud and myself have joined in school way back in 1992. Ashish Sud was in science stream. I was in commerce stream. And Ashish Sud completed his 11th and 12th in Sri Satheswar Higher Secondary School and then went to the Brindavan campus to do his BSc. And then from BSc, again, he has done his postgraduate over in Prashanthi Nilayam. And after that, now currently he is working as a IT industry. Ashish Sood is a very good orator, what I have seen. He's also a very good TT player. And also, most importantly, uh, he comes from the Himachal Pradesh, where Swami used to like that place a lot during 1992-94. I'm sure there are a lot of experiences. That time, full Himachal Pradesh was informed because of one of our classmates, Mr. Raman Mehta, who was in Himachal, so he was informed. So we can understand that kind of chances which Himachal Pradesh has got that time. I'm sure Ashish Sud will recollect those experiences and he will share with us. And Ashish Sud is also uh, blessed. I should say that he has got a few of the wonderful opportunities to have interaction with Swami. He will share during his talk today. That is on the first speaker. The second speaker, we have Mr. Satheshwar. Myself and Satheshwar, again, we go back to Brindavan days. We studied together in Brindavan, the BCom honors together. Satheshwar is a kind of a gentleman where I have closely interacted with him because we all used to be in the backbenchers in Brindavan school, in Brindavan college days, BCom, and we were like average kind of a students, not I should say like brightest of all. And to be very frank, today I'm so proud of not Mr. Satyeshwar, I should call him as Dr. Sathyeshwar, because he's a person, he's climbed step by step through his hard work. I should say that yes, today he's leading a college. He's a principal of one of the management institutes in Bangalore. He has also written a book which is published on the management side, which he will share his experiences on that. Overall, Mr. Satheshwar is very kind-hearted. He's always good to give his support to the young generation. He has given a lot of hard work in the field of education, especially interacting with many of the youngsters. And he's leading one of the colleges and having a lot of BCom and post-graduation students. It's not so easy at this young age. He is leading, kind of a principal kind of a post in Bangalore, in the Bangalore's university affiliated universities. So that is our second speaker, Mr. Satheshwar. The third speaker is Mr. D.M. Subramaniam. Myself and D.M. Subramaniam and all of us, we all met him in Brindavan. And he also did his BSc in Brindavan from 94 to 97. Mr. D.M. Subramaniam, very few people have got some chances from Swami where, they try to be serving Swami in a way in hostel days, like arranging altars or arranging kind of items which is required for Swami for his day-to-day darshan times. Mr. DM also comes from Chennai, so he has done kind of after BSc. Then he is currently is working in IT industry as well. So DM Subramaniam, what we know him is very kind-hearted, very large-hearted. He's always helpful in service activities. Even today, he goes every month to Puttaparthi to render his services, as his mom also renders services now. So every month he makes a trip to Puttaparthi and then offer his small token of love to Swami, and then comes back on a monthly basis. And myself and DM, we currently stay together in the same society. So I have seen him in a close proximity, like how good is the way he manages his family as well as Swami's activities. With these three introductions, I first leave the sequence of talking in a way, Mr. Ashish, followed by Satheshwar, and then followed by Mr. DM Subramaniam. So they will first give their narration of their experiences, the journey of their towards the Swami, what was the background, what was the pulling string Swami used to get them to his lotus feet. So over this, I first request Mr. Ashish Sud to start over. Sai Ram.
I offer my humble pranams at Swami's lotus feet and the loving sairams to everyone who is joined here today. Now, in the June of year 1992, right, barely 2.5 months after my 16th birthday, I joined Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School at Prashanthi Nilayam and entered the boys' hostel. Right, and I remember my father when he kind of accompanied me to the hostel. He left me with a packet of agarbattis, a matchstick, and a copy of Satyam Shivam Sundaram Volume 1 in Hindi. Right, and then he was gone. And for the next 9 years or so, I were to meet my parents just once during the summer vacation, every year, annual vacation. And once when they would come down to Prashanthi Nilayam or Brindavan as part of the Sevadal, right? But how did somebody, right? As Pawan mentioned, that I'm from Himachal Pradesh, as some of you or most of you would know, it's a hill state from the Himalayan ranges in the northern part of India. 2000, almost over 2,500 kilometers from Prashanthi Nilayam. Right, at that time, it used to be a 60 plus hours of journey to get from my hometown to Prashanthi Nilayam. So how does somebody from such a far off place land up in Prashanthi Nilayam joining Swami school, right? So that's an interesting question, and the story behind it is, at least to me, looking back, is quite interesting as well. But I should also say that all of us have this story, right? How we came to Swami's fold, how we reached Prashanthi Nilayam, how we joined his educational institutions, or even if we have not been students of his institutions, just how we came into his fold. And I strongly believe that even though our stories may differ in details, in essence, they are the same. In the sense that on our own, we wouldn't have been able to make the journey. Looking back, I'm sure all of us see divine hand at play, how we landed up at Prashanthi Nilayam. Right? In some cases, it's a dramatic, almost miraculous occurrences or events which led them to Prashanthi Nilayam. In some cases, it's their own kind of resolve to be at Swami's proximity that led them there. In some cases, it was very, just one thing leading to another, and almost as a very natural effect, people landing up at Swami's lotus feet. So in my case, how did it happen? I and my brother, or rather, my father had visited Prashanthi Nilayam maybe once as Sevadal. My aunt, his elder sister, had been to Prashanthi Nilayam a couple of times, maybe in the 80s, early 80s. My grandparents had been to Puttaparthi once in late 70s, and that was about it. And there was never a talk or discussion about me or my brother kind of joining Swami's educational institutions or any such thing, right? I remember I was in my 10th standard, and I think maybe Jan or Feb, some such times, and it was a Sunday. And on Sundays, we used to have Bal Vikas classes, right, that I and my brother used to off and on go to. But the problem also was that Sunday mornings, way back in 90s, were also the time when a lot of interesting kids program used to be on TV. It wasn't like these days when you have several channels available and almost something for kids running almost through the day. So it used to be Sundays, there was only one channel, that was the national channel, and there were a lot of interesting programs going on TV. And on one such Sunday morning, we had a huge argument with our parents that we are not going to go to the Bal Vikas class because we want to watch television, right? That's what happened on one Sunday. And of course, it became a huge matter of concern for the elders, right? And I remember my aunt saying that, see, there's no hope for these boys. They are a gone case. and I think there won't be any redemption unless we send them to Swami's institutions. That's where they would really learn discipline, learn what it is to live the right kind of life. So that's how it started, interestingly. Right, but then it was an incident. It happened. There was my parents, my aunt, they huffed and puffed, and then we carried on as usual with our lives. But then when the admissions were thrown open for the new session in Prashanthi Nilayam, my father actually applied for the prospectus. We got the prospectus, and I remember by the time we sent the application, we were quite late, and I was kind of hoping that the call won't come, right, because we had already sort of missed the deadline. But yeah, as you would expect, the call did come, and then it became okay. Call has come, but I have not studied anything. I have not prepared particularly for the entrance exam, so there's hardly any chance that I would kind of get through. Be it as it may, we did take a long 60-hour journey from Himachal Pradesh, my hometown Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh, which consisted of 12 hours of bus ride to Delhi, then camping at an obscure relative's place for maybe 12 hours till the train was scheduled for the evening. So we spent the day at a relative's place. Took the train. The train used to take around 42 hours to reach Dharmavaram. There was no railway station at Prashanthi Nilayam at the time. Another hour by bus to Puttaparthi, and we landed in Puttaparthi. And I remember it was a month of May, maybe late April or early to mid-May, and all of us know what kind of weather you can expect at that time at Puttaparthi. So from Himachal Pradesh, from the Himalayas, right to Puttaparthi in middle of May, right, and the heat was simply too much for us to bear. To top it, the food was too spicy. It was difficult for all of us to manage with food. So, but we managed. We took an accommodation in the ashram, and there was the day of the entrance test. I remember that I went for the entrance test. I don't know what I answered, because most of the questions I had no clue, what they were about or how they had to be answered. But when the result came out, I was shortlisted for the interview. So I had an interview. I still remember distinctly the faces of the interview panel. Our Habu sir, Shivram Krishnaya sir, principal, Ramon sir, Janardhan sir, right? Such lovable teachers that we had for during our stay at Prashanthi Nilayam. They asking me all sorts of questions. I remember one question they asked me was, see, what if you get selected and then you decide to go for IIT or something like that. Now, remember, I was from such a remote place, and there was such lack of awareness on my part that I didn't know at that time what IIT meant, right? But I told him, see, if I get admission here, then obviously I'm going to join here. I'm not going to go for IIT. And mind you that I had no clue what IIT even meant. But yeah, so 2 days after that, the result came out. I was selected. We were happy. Now, it was impossible for us to make the journey back home and then come back again to join in the month of June, because as I said earlier, it's 60 plus hours of journey. The reservations, you won't get the reservations at short notices. So what we did was we went off to Bangalore, again found another obscure relative who were living in Bangalore, and stayed with them. At least myself and my father stayed with them for till the time we came back for joining. But in between, my brother and my mother, and now remember, we have never stepped out of Himachal Pradesh. We have never traveled by train before that time. And this is the first instance that we are stepping out of the confines of our hometown and home state and taking such a journey. So before we actually, myself and my father went to Prashanthi Nilayam for joining, my mother and my brother, they left for my hometown to go back. And this is the first time my mom is taking such a long journey. Forget long journey, any journey on her own, because every time, even when we had been to our maybe maternal grandparents' home, or we all went together, right? So my father was always there. I remember she giving a kind of, or rather, she being tearful and saying our goodbyes, and then she leaving. And now looking back, I do wonder that because to understand what our parents might have gone through during the decisions that they took, we realize now when we are parents ourselves, right? Because at that time, it somehow looks like it's easy for the grown-ups to make those decisions. But several years later, when I spoke to my mother, what she told me was quite profound, actually. So she said that I knew that Swami would take care of you, right? And I'm sure a lot of our parents, when they took the decision to send us off to Swami's institutes or schools, some of us some of our batchmates have been there from first standard, right? So what makes a parent kind of take that sort of a decision? And I think my mom's answer kind of sums up what triggers or what solidifies that decision. Is the belief that Swami would take care, right? So my father, as I said, he dropped me at Prashanthi Nilayam. I joined the hostel, and to be very frank, it was a feeling of homecoming. I didn't feel homesick even for a moment, right from day one. Now, the only reason I could think of for such a state of mind, for somebody, a 16-year-old, landing 2,500 kilometers away from home at a strange place, quite different climatically, quite different culturally, and still feel at home. The only reason I can think of is maybe it was that faith or that belief of my mom that Swami would take care, rubbing off on me, right? So and subsequently, as I said, for next 9 years or so, Prashanthi Nilayam, Brindavan, they were not second home, they were home, right? And that's the case even today. When I'm sure those of us who've lived there, who have spent time at Brindavan, Prashanthi Nilayam, they would also agree that even today when we land up there, it's like coming home, right? And so that in essence was my physical journey from Himachal Pradesh to Swami's school. Even though that was the physical journey, I would say the inner journey still continues, right? That homecoming is yet to happen, and that's an ongoing process, because life, even though we think that life, we tend to think of life as linear, right? One thing leading to another, and a continuous upward trend. But experience tells you that life is in fact full of detours, full of falling off the path, getting back on, and sometimes the progress is slow, but we continue. So that's my journey of how I came to Swami's Institutes. Sairam. Pawan, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, thanks, Ashish. I think right from Himachal to Parthi directly, first time coming out of your hometown directly, Swami calling you is a calling card, which direct STD, I should say. Those times it was interstate.
Yeah.
So I should say that it was a direct STD call given to you, and you had to come to all the way from north to the south, which is very nice, I should say. Thank you. May I request now, Brother Dr. Sathyeshwar, can you please give your journey and what was the background, and if you can share to all of us.
Thanks, Pawan. Unlike Ashish Sud, I was actually born into a Sai devotees family. So the journey began right from my birth. And my parents were staunch devotees of Swami. And right from 1960s to 70s, my father, first came into the fold. And it was he who, involved all the family members, his brothers, sisters, everybody to get into Swami's path. And during 1960s and 70s, how actually my father got influenced with Swami's connection and all those things is only because of our first Vice Chancellor, Professor Vinayaka Krishna Gokak, VK Gokak, we fondly call him as. Gokak ji and his family were staying in Bangalore, close to Malleshwaram area. And that was where my father actually was also living by. And he and his friends they had a room, and they were on a sharing basis. They were staying in that room, before the marriage. And during 1960s and 70s, when Swami used to come to Bangalore, VK Gokak got a call every time Swami came to Bangalore. And that was when his wife, Mrs. Sharda Gokak, used to call my father to his office. My father was working as a HR supervisor in Bharat Earth Movers Limited. We call that as BEML. It is a Navaratna company. So he used to get a call from Mrs. Sharda Gokak saying that Swami would be coming, say, today at 4 o'clock. You please come down, directly from the office, or whatever the time it would be. And that was the time when, my father started to go to Swami often, visit at Gokak's place. And slowly the interactions developed, and Kadugodi, Bangalore, this crisscrossing used to happen. And during 1975, my father, he has told me this. During 1975, when he got married to my mother, Gokak ji had presented a book in his own handwriting. He had written on the wedding occasion of Sri N. Subhakrishna and Leelavati. They are the name of my parents. and it was blessed by Swami. And my mother was a non-devotee. And after coming into the family, after getting married, my mother also started believing Swami. And that's how my upbringing was. My upbringing was full of, listening to Swami stories, bhajans. We used to have regular bhajans. Third Tuesday of every month, from 7 o'clock to 8:30. Every month we used to have bhajans at home. People used to come, gather, do bhajans at our home, and after that, of course, Arati, Mahamanglarti, Vibhuti Prasadam and Prasadam, everything was there. And Nagar Sankirtan, Satsangs, these were all part of my upbringing. And when it was in my first standard that I had got a seat in Prashanthi Nilayam. It was in the, my father wanted me to join Swami's school. First standard, I had got admission, and I went there for a day or 2 days. And after that, I felt homesick, and my mother was also not that comfortable, and I was, brought back to Bangalore. And it took me 10 years to again get into Swami's fold. It was during 1992, my first PUC, I got seat in Mudenalli campus to study commerce. So 1992 to 1994 was my first entry into Swami's institution as such. And in the year 1993-94, we were the seniors. And we were the seniors, and we wanted to make an impression on the mind of the juniors. And, that senior, clout we had to, actually force upon the juniors. So we used to, kind of flick chapatis, puris, and sweets, from the canteen. And we used to give it to the juniors who wanted to eat second chapati or third chapati, or wanted to have one more sweet and things like that. And see, like this, in the afternoon or in the night, we used to bring this, puliogra mix, the tamarind rice and all. And we used to make some boy as a sick boy or a patient boy, and we used to bring rice. And in the night, we used to mix everything and eat. And there was a farm nearby, which had very good tender coconuts. We used to pick tender coconuts, drink tender coconuts. For all wrong reasons, we were actually highlighted, and principals, actually summoned all of us and told that, you are most dirty fellows, you do all nonsense here in Swami's institution, and you deserve, very bad kind of treatment and all these things. In fact, there was a telegram, which had gone to my father saying that meet principal immediately. My father was, fully scared, and I was actually, worried, and, I was actually, going through a lot of emotions at that point of time. And he told, sir, please take him away. He doesn't deserve any seat in this place. And next year, we are all planning our students to join Brindavan campus for BCom honors. So these are all one set of boys who should not be allowed to, take part in any of those. But, God willing, we cleared our second year PUC, and we all had actually applied for, we have put in our application. And we got a call saying that, come and write the written test. As my brother Ashish tells me, it was somewhere during end of April or mid of May. We got a call, and we came, we wrote. And that was the batch, 1994 batch. Record 6 students got admitted in Brindavan campus for the first time. And it was never seen ever before kind of a stuff in Mudenahಳ್ಳಿ history. So 6 students coming from Mudenahಳ್ಳಿ campus to Brindavan campus to study BCom, and I was one of among them. And this surprised our principal and told, Swami's blessing is on you. At least now do well. That kind of blessings he gave, and sent me. And 1994 June 1st, was the starting day of our undergraduation course in Brindavan campus. I'm sure all of you will remember here, we had that kind of fortune. We were the fortunate people to, actually stay with Swami for almost close to, till October. Swami never returned back to Prashanthi Nilayam. he stayed almost till October, till Dashera, and we had the fortunate, we were the fortunate people to actually, get first chance, to be in front of Trey and all those things. And one of the Trey sessions, maybe it was June 3rd or June 4th, I happened to sit near Jula, and Swami looked at me, and Mudanalli, he told me. And I was surprised. He voluntarily told me Mudanalli. Then I told, yes, Swami. Then he gave that kind of a look. Then he told, like that. Then I understood, means I should not, do all nonsense, or, I should not do all these wrong things. It was a kind of a warning for me. And that's a beginning for me. And that's how I started to come into Swami's fold and Swami's educational institutions. And it's a big journey. And, today also we cherish, this particular journey. This is my, viewpoint, or rather experience of coming into Swami's, institutions for the first time. Over to you, Pavan. Sairam.
Wow. Thank you, brother Dr. Sathyeshwar. I think the kind of things you have told today, like you have association with our first Vice Chancellor, V.K. Gokak, I think that itself is giving us goosebumps. And we are eager to hear more and more in our next part 2 session. Thank you very much. I think it's eye-opening for all of us that you are, blessed the family. Your Swami has blessed your parents on their wedding thing. It's a very nice eye-opening to all of us. Coming to the next, DM Subramaniam, brother, if you could kindly share your journey, what has motivated, how come you have landed in Brindavan campus along with us, so that we will be eager to know your story behind.
Thank you, Pavan. Pranams at Swami's Lotus Feet. So I think, today we are having 3 different journeys to Swami, I guess. Let me narrate also mine. When it started with my dad, who was introduced to Swami, I think sometime in 70s, right? But he never took it further. And then sometime in 89, one of our distant relative, her grandson was a student in Patti school. I think he was, I think, 3-4 years senior to us, I guess. And I think, the grandpa and the grandma, they wanted to visit him in Patti, and then they just wanted a help, and my dad offered to go with them. I said, okay, fine, let's go. So that was through the Nagarkoil Samiti. So my native is Ambasamudram, which is in Tirunelveli, and they are in a different district. So that's how my dad first went to Patti in 89. And then when they went to Patti, Swami had come over to Brindavan, right? So they went to Patti. They didn't have Swami's darshan. Then they immediately came down to Bangalore, right? They went to Kadugudi. So I mean, you can see the way how Swami introduced my dad. You'll see a pattern there, right? So he comes here and then he sees the institute, he sees the boys, and then my dad kind of likes it, right? So then 1990, they went for the 65th birthday, and it was a huge celebration. I think the Hanuman statue was opened that year, I guess, right? So then dad comes back, but myself, my sister, and my mom, we are not. We are not much into Swami. We're kind of a spiritual family only, but we are not into Swami. It's a normal thing. Right? Sometime in '93, we get to know that in '92 we came to know that Swami comes to Kodaikanal for between in April and May, but that year we couldn't make. Then in '93, we came to know that Swami has come to Kodaikanal. Then my dad decided that we should go to Kodai. Right. Obviously, kids were happy. I was happy. Not for the obvious reasons, right? So it was first trip to Kodai. So then we went to Kodai, and it was like a mad dash towards darshan. We were dropped in the. We came to the bus stand. From there, instead of taking an auto, we took a boat right across the lake, going through there, and then we jumped out of the boat and ran into darshan because it was almost 9:30. Darshan was getting over. Right, but again, for me, it was a thrill. My dad, we just had a darshan. Then we came out. It was maybe a few minutes, right? We just saw Swami, and then Swami went there. Then we had a good trip around Kodai. So that was then by evening, again we come back. Then there are lines, and I am surprised, what are these lines for? There are a lot of people who are coming. But my dad is used to it, right? He has been to Bhatti, so he knows, we have to be in a line. You'll get a token. That line, they'll go in a very disciplined, orderly way. So we take a token. I was in the last line, and our line was the last, obviously, right? So then what happens is when we go in, right? For me, last line or first line, it doesn't matter. My trip is already done. I'd seen Kodai. Right? So then we go in there, but it so happened that there was a lot of crowd, and it was full. And this last line was made to sit in front. So imagine, I was sitting the front row. Dad had a very good time, and I still remember that first scene when I saw Swami in that. I think it was the right end of Sai Shuti. There's an arch, I guess, right? So Swami comes over there, and then he looks at everyone, has a lovely smile. I still remember that, right? And then he went back, the usual bhajans and everything. We come back. Right, so then 12th is done. Then we looked up for, we were looking for admission. Right. So again, there was no place, nobody to guide us where to reach for admission and everything. So that year, Hindu paper had published the admission call for. So the admission call for was published in Hindu paper. Right. So so that's where we got to know the admission, and then we applied for the prospectus. Everything came through the usual admission process and everything, right? So like most of us, I don't know how we cleared the exam, and then the interview too. So before my 12th results came out, I already had an admission here, right? It was that way. Then the 12 results came out. Then everything was done and through joined Swami here. So that's what happened, right? So that was my journey here, and that's when I got to know Swami. Then the understanding deepened and everything. Thank you.
Wow, very nice, DM. I think two things I can talk about is, first thing, generally students join and go to Kodai. You went Kodai and came as a student. Okay, so which is I think all credits to your father who has taken you to the Kodai first, and that is a beautiful darshan, Kodai darshans you will have. And second thing surprising is you mentioned you saw a paper ad in Hindu. I never knew that our institute has ever put an ad in Hindu, because I was only thinking they generally put only in Sanatana Sardi, and that's how I know. This is an eye opener for me today that paper ad is there in Hindu, and through Hindu ad you had to apply to our institute and come. I think these two are very striking, and you can see in all the three versions, Swami has his own different ways to pull strings, to call his students anywhere part of the world. He'll make sure that there is a way for him to pull all of us at his lotus feet. I think that's how he has done in all three of your scenarios. Different, but objective is same, to get to his lotus feet. Great. Now we'll just go to the part 2 session. So I would like first ask Ashish, brother, is there any moment which you want to share, which is striking, which is memorable, which is cherishable, which interaction with Swami, so that we know that that physical interaction which you can share and experience and share it to us, brother Ashish.
Yeah, Pavan, thanks. Yesterday morning, right, just after I had woken up, I see a message from Pavan on WhatsApp saying that let me know if you would be willing to speak on Satsangh, right? And it just took me 10 or 15 seconds to respond to him, no. No, I would not be willing to speak. That whenever we have this kind of request, one goes through a lot of soul searching, right? It's time for introspection. what do you speak? What do you speak to an assembly or an audience, which probably is a better practitioner of Swami's teachings than you are, right? So what can you possibly speak? And then the next question was why, and then the next was why me, right? And it immediately followed by a recollection of one of my experiences way back. I think it was either 1999 or 2000. It was
Ashish, can I request you switch on your video? Ashish, sorry, can you switch on your video? We can't see you.
Ashish is on, Pawan. He's on. He's visible.
It's on.
It's on.
My video is on. Am
Is it on?
Yeah, you're visible.
Okay.
Ashish. Yes,
I'm
yes.
not
Yeah,
able to
we can.
see.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So as I was saying that all these agitation, mental agitation, kind of was followed by a recollection of an incident way back in 1999 or 2000, I believe. That was the time when I had a similar questioning, like why, and then why me, and your mind kind of playing all sorts of tricks on you. As I think most of us would know that we have these Dashara celebrations at the Prashanthi Nilayam, right? The Yajnam, and where in those times the Veda Pandits used to invoke the presiding deity of the yajna while Swami physically sat there, right? While that presiding deity was right there. He was not just the presiding deity, but also the performer of the yajna, also the offering, everything, right? And there used to be Swami's discourses in the evening, and one or two students used to get an opportunity to speak before Swami's discourse, right? And so it was Dashara time, and I got a warden called me to his office, and he said that, see, tomorrow you would be speaking in front of Swami before Swami's discourse. So this was the first time I was getting an opportunity to speak in front of Swami. So it was huge in that sense. What more could you ask for? But at the same time, I was also very, very nervous. Right, the same thing. What do you speak in front of Swami? But I prepared something. I recollect that I prepared something on the topic of sacrifice, since there was the sacrificial yajna going on, and possibly that was also the theme during previous days' speeches. So I chose sacrifice as the topic, and I went ahead. When my turn came, I took Pad Namaskar, Swami's Pad Namaskar, and started my speech. Now, when we have this kind of an opportunity to speak, right, we kind of tend to think that people are actually wanting to listen to you. But the fact of the matter is that that huge gathering there is really for Swami. They're waiting for Swami to speak, to hear his message, right? Otherwise, in Sai Kulwant Hall, in the hot and humid kind of weather, devotees from all over the world, from various nationalities, sitting there patiently. They're not there to listen to you, right? But our egos do come in the way. And I started speaking. I spoke whatever I had prepared, and I would like to put an emphasis on the word prepare, right? Because like it or not, what I was speaking was really bookish knowledge, right? It wasn't from experience, it wasn't from understanding, it wasn't from self-study and having kind of arrived at those, profound conclusions. It was just bookish. And as Swami says, that a spoonful of cow's milk is way better than barrels of donkey's milk, right? So, but what I was doing there was just throwing out all bookish stuff, something that I had read, that I had prepared. And so midway, I think I was midway my talk, and I heard Swami saying yes. Okay, and in my foolishness, I took it to mean that Swami was endorsing the point that I had made, right? And I continued with all the fervor to speak. And after some time, I again heard Swami, but this time I didn't hear it as yes. I heard it as bas, which in Hindi means enough, right? So he said enough. This time, thankfully, I got the cue. I stopped my talk. I took Pad Namaskar and went back to wherever I was sitting. So this was the first opportunity I had to speak in front of Swami, and the Swami stopped me midway. And this started to play on my mind. Your ego is hurt, your ego is at play. You had one opportunity, you're thinking you've blown it, right? Swami didn't like your talk, he stopped you midway. And I just couldn't let go of this feeling. After that, I was a total blank. I don't know what else happened that day, but this kind of kept playing over and over in my mind, that that you had this wonderful opportunity to speak in front of Swami. All your whether you have spoken at the hostel or in the institute, among all that, this was one thing that anybody who kind of speaks publicly or gives a talk kind of aspires for, right? You would get a chance to speak in front of Swami, and then Swami would be happy and things like that. But it hadn't turned out that way. And I went back to hostel. I was in a total sulk mode, I just couldn't let go of that feeling. And of course, people did say that you spoke well and congrats and all that stuff, but none of that mattered, because the one person whose approval you're seeking had kind of stopped you midway, right? So during Dashera time, typically we also used to get, Swami used to distribute these next year's diaries, right? So if it was year 99, the year 2000 diary would have been distributed. And the students here, whoever has got those diaries, they know that there's typically Swami's picture on the cover. Then there is some written material, maybe information about Prashanthi Nilayam, initial few pages, and then every page with that year's date on it. A typical diary that you have, a yearly calendar. So I think the previous day or the same day, I'm not sure, but such a calendar, a diary had been distributed to all the students. And I remember I was in my room, the dormitory, just lying in my place on my mattress, and I had this diary with me, and I opened it. I was just toying with it. I opened it, and it kind of coincidentally opened at one of the printed pages at the beginning, where in this particular diary there was some excerpts from Swami's talks, Swami's discourses, and that sort of a thing. There was not much of other diaries that we've seen. There's information about Prashanthi Nilayam, Ashram, etc., etc. But this has some excerpts, some quotations, etc., from Swami in the initial few printed pages. And when I opened this diary, or rather when the diary opened, because my intention was not to kind of open and start reading or any such thing. It just kind of happened to open. And there was a bold, in the middle of all the text, there was a bold kind of sentence. And I read that. And I'll quote that. It said, "I gave you the time, space, cause, material, idea, skill, chance, and fortune. Why should you feel as if you are the doer?" And I mean, you can imagine, it was like being hit by a ton of bricks, right? So God gave you, or I gave you the time, space, cause, material, idea, skill, chance, and fortune. Why should you feel as if you are the doer? So pretty much everything that we have, all our faculties, everything that we think we are capable of, the potential that we have, the things that we do, almost everything is counted in here. And why should you feel as if you are the doer? It was profound. I mean, the state of mind I was in, it really kind of hit me very hard. But having said that, it still took me, I would say, a long time to come to terms with that experience. To really let go of that. Because whether you think that you have done something well, or you think you have done something poorly, in both these thoughts, the ego is at play, right? Because that is constantly measuring how good, how bad, either exaggerating or underestimating, right? These are all the facets of ego. And it took me a really long time to kind of let go in that sense. And it was quite some time before I could comfortably get on the stage again and start to speak. But well, and the same thing happened when I got that Pawan's message, and I had initially said, "No, Pawan, I'm not going to speak." So this is what came to my mind right after I had messaged him that, I gave you the time, space, cause, material, idea, skill, chance, and fortune. Why should you feel as if you're the doer? And then I kind of reverted to Pawan and I said, yes, I'm going to be part of this discussion, this forum, not for any other reason, but as Swami said, why should you feel as if you're the doer? And also to take this as an opportunity to kind of to reminisce, to recollect, to reconnect, to remind myself of those days, of what Swami's teachings have meant for us, and the ideal that he has set for us. And of course, there'll be, that's the purpose of an ideal, right? You're always going to fall short of an ideal. That's why it's an ideal, because it's a continuous journey towards that ideal. And if you achieve that ideal, ideal is always ahead, right? And that's how it's meant to be, and that's how Swami has set the bar for us so high, so that we can continuously keep striving to move towards that. So this was one experience that thanks to Pawan, from last evening, I have just been reminiscing of all those good times that we've had at Swami's lotus feet. And sometimes Swami has mysterious ways of teaching us, right? It's not always that he's telling you directly, talking to you, but the different ways in which we feel his presence in our life. And so that's one of the experiences that I want to share with everyone. Over to you, Pawan. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. I think the sentence what you mentioned, what you read out of the paragraph, what Swami has shown you, I think if you can type that message to in the chat so that everybody can always remember that the final word is, you are not the doer, it is your instrument. He is the doer, who is doing everything. So if you can message that line itself, I think every day, once in a day, if you read that, that itself is enough that our tensions, our, thinking that you are taking the burden will be reduced. And I'm sure most of the hypertension, especially where youngsters are having, I think that will be reduced drastically if really essence is taken into their heads that you are not the doer. So it's everything is done by the divine hand who is behind out of that. Thank you very much for this wonderful sentence what you quoted through Swami's messages. The next thing is I would come back to Dr. Sathyeshwar. A typical question, what I would say that you have spent 3 years at Swami's Institute. You have gone through the curriculum. You have gone through the kind of discipline, the kind of the semester wise how we prepare ourselves for the final exams. Now you are in a position, principal by yourself. What things you have taken from the portals of Swami's Institute, and what are you trying to inculcate in your institutes? Is there anything you saw that because you are there in Swami's portals and which is helping you being as a principal of the institute? And what do you think the lessons learned over there is helping you in your professional way and in your personal way? If you can let us know, because you are in the educational field in Bangalore, running an institute which is a very, very actually highly demanding. So in what way you think that your study over there is helping you here in Bangalore to run the management institute as a principal by yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Pawan. See, first and foremost, we cannot think anything without Swami. So that's the bottom line, which means Swami is there in every action of ours. As Brother Sud rightly pointed out, we are not the doer, we are only the instrument. We have been the instrument, to do things. And this being the case, after coming into Brindavan, the 3 years of our golden stay, I'm sure everybody would agree, the batch 1997 batch is the most fortunate batch, because that was the time when Swami lived in Brindavan for, more than what he was supposed to actually used to live, probably, till June or July, he used to vacate and he used to go to Parthi. But that point of time, it was still October, he stayed. And after coming to Brindavan, I had a different perspective altogether, because coming from Mudenhalli campus, less of English, more of Kannada, and we had this kind of a feeling where we might not fit into that particular place. Though I personally felt so, not that all my batchmates from Mudenhalli, happened to, watch my opinion. I felt so. And there were students from different parts of the country and even world altogether also. So they were all communicating in English, and the language medium of conversation was English. Though I was lacking of it and probably not able to understand a few words, whatever they used to say, but I was never felt out of the box. This was one important feeling which all my batchmates gave me. Right from the word go, whenever the local language was spoken, when some non-local person or person from, say, Kannada background or Tamil background used to come in to that group discussion, they automatically switched on to English. That was the beauty of it, so that that person who came into that discussions should not be left out. So this is one big lesson which I really have understood, that we need to include everybody in our conversation, because somebody somewhere should definitely add value to the discussions, from the sweeper to the CEO. Everybody is important in an organization. Similarly, every discussion, every point of view is very important, so that we need to give that kind of space and room to that. And seeing our batchmates perform in, be it academics or sports, it was a proud feeling altogether, because the kind of efforts and dedications. I remember the sports meet, the motorbikes, the Royal Enfields. There were people who were white and they turned black after days of training. Kadu is one of them. I remember, and a lot of people like that. They had that kind of dedication, commitment towards whatever the responsibilities was given to them. And I remember, sometime our warden telling our batch students, saying that there is no leader in this batch, no leadership qualities, waste. He was kind of written off, kind of a stuff. Our batch was kind of a written off for him. And today I'll tell you, all our batchmates are in leadership positions. This is what actually strikes to me right now. And everyone is a leader. They are leading a team, and they're stalwarts in their own positions. I can start naming a lot of them. It will go, probably I'll have to cover the entire BCom and BSc. So that is the kind of stuff what actually our batch is actually made of. And professionally, I got a lot of help from all my batchmates. I need to be mentioning few of the names here, because my classmates, my batchmates, my roommates. Incidentally, Pawan was my roommate in second year. We stayed together in B7. So I still remember, the lot of efforts how you used to put for each other and support each other. And I have to take the name of Ritesh. See, Ritesh was one such kind of a guy who never used to study. His duty was only to serve that chai. Chai was there. So he used to serve that chai. And in examination times, he never used to study, because there were three, Rakshasas in our batch. And, he was called as Daitya Guru Shuklacharya. He was Daitya Guru Shuklacharya of our batch, Ritesh Patnaik. He used to teach this Shattis and Ranas and Swarups. And every examination, these guys were, behind this pit. And, wonderful job he was doing. And otherwise, he was, working in dispensary and all these things. And we have our Sai Manohar, who was really, a gem of a guy. You ask him what he doesn't know, right from Vedas to Sanskrit shlokas. Man, I was like wondering what he doesn't know. Everything he knows. And a very simple, humble person. And he is today in Mudanelli campus. I'm very proud of him. And, I keep taking his help for every now and then. Because, Bangalore Satheswar organization, West District, conducts this Swadhyaya. And recently, yesterday, we concluded Prem Vahini series. Before that, Ram Katha, Rasvahini, Dharma Vahini, everything happened on a regular basis since last 2 years, all COVID, all webinars. So I used to, keep telling him, Sam, please help me with this, help me with that. Because, I am kind of a guy, I will not go through any of the spirituality books and all these things. It's like, Pawan, you please give me questions, I'll answer, kind of. That's all. I'll mug and come and tell. That's it. Because we are not, brilliant stuff and all. We're like normal people. So Sam is one of them. And we had Vijay Santanam, who was like kind of Mr. Perfect for all of us. He was also our batchmate, roommate in B7. And he was perfect, in all his works. And our own brother, Ashish Sud, I remember, is one kind of a guy who always motivates. And he is the one who motivated me. And he was calling me cutie. I still remember, because I had actually failed in quantitative techniques. And I got a O grade in final semester. So he was like, man, from D grade to O grade, man, you're really brilliant. You should be called as cutie. And he was the one who always tried to motivate me at every given point of time. And we had this Gandhi Dasan. No, he was very good in altar making competitions and all. Every time altar making was done, he was the the artist. He used to do a very nice job. And we had a cricket maestro, in form of KK. He's our CEO today, and CEO had played for counties and all. And of course, we had our Tukaram sir's class, we had our Ruchir sir's class, and Sanjay Sahani's class. It was awesome, actually. Every moment we lived in Brindavan, and I have to take out these two guys' names. What I am today is because of them. One is Raghuram, Ragi, we call him as, because he was like encyclopedia, Bible, Quran, Gita. His notes were all these things for us. He was writing the talk. Forget Shekhar Gupta doing it today. Raghuram was writing the running notes of what lecturers used to dictate or probably talk in the classroom. Before they started to dictate notes, they used to explain. This explanation or conversation he used to write randomly, and it was a very beautiful handwriting. And almost every BCom honor student used to have his notes for examination purposes. He was one savior of me. And the next one is Sachin Das. As I agree with Pavan, I was not a brilliant student at all. Because more than the times I have passed, I have failed in either internal test or external test. Right royally I have failed. And every time this Das was my rescuer. Das, please teach me calculus, teach me integration, whatever it is, accountancy, all royalty accounts, consignment accounts, all these things, this Das fellow used to teach me. He used to grumble, but he used to teach. And I happened to be the beneficiary of his tuitions. Actually, tuition started to me way back in 1994-95 when Das taught me a lot of things. Today, whatever I am, if I'm in a position, for me to get into this position, I have to put my efforts on a staged manner, and I have to get in. And these two guys have actually really helped me, and I really owe them a lot. See, these are all things which actually makes you strong. We have come the hard way. It is not that everything is bed of roses. You go to Swami's place, you will remain in bed of roses. Sud told in the beginning itself, we had faced a lot of ups and downs in our day-to-day lives. And we need to take this as an example. We need to take this, when we are experimenting all these things, we need to make it applicable also. At the same time, I really understand, personally, I am connected with each of my batchmates. They are at my beck and call if I want them to come and speak to my students. Recently, Das, Praveen, how can we forget Praveen? Because he is the guy who used to supply us gonguras and mango pickles and this gunpowder. We have enjoyed his delicious food. And see, all these people had come to my college and they had spoken in length about various topics in which they are all experts actually. So I really feel proud, and stay connected with all of these guys. And they are my first family as such. My batchmates, Brindavan batchmates, they are my first family. They are in my inner circle. And this helps me to, probably take it down to my students also. See, whenever we think of Swami's teachings, we always try to put in that in front of our students, the way they would actually receive it. And today students, they are exposed to a lot of, digitalization and things like that. And they are royally spoiled actually. So it's a challenge for all of us as to how do we actually make them work or come in this particular way. So this is one of the most important things. And all these things, have been, nicely been, addressed because of the portals in which I was actually brought up, and the kind of education I was given, the kind of mentoring I was given at Brindavan campus. This is actually, I'm living the moment every day. Over to you, Pawan.
Thank you, Dr. Satheshwar. I think you have referred a lot of names along with the nicknames. I should say that whatever Dr. Satheshwar has said, if I take his permission, like myself and Dr. Satheshwar, we were not qualified even for MBA because we have got less than 3.5 GPAs. That means we have not even got a qualifying marks, because of which we could not even apply for MBA. Now you can see Swami, it doesn't matter, he qualifies the qualified, that is where he has his own ways. You might have not got enough marks in the University of Satheswar Institute of Higher Learning, but I am giving you enough grace marks to make you to a kind of a position where you will lead the institutions. I think it is nothing other than Swami's hand behind Dr. Satyeshwar's life journey. Today he is very humble and giving us credits to all our batchmates, but I'm sure the divine hand for him is enormous, because the person was not qualified for an MBA in Swami's Institute. Now Swami has made him to show that he has a potential to lead an institution by himself. And he has also written a book, on the management. Recently has been published. So in that way, I should say that Dr. Satyeshwar has really proven us all wrong, and saying that, with the divine grace and hard work, any person can reach anywhere. I think that is the best example I can quote, taking Dr. Satyeshwar's life, because I have been very close to him, and both of us used to support each other in accounts, especially we were cupboard mates, and I know, what is each weakness at education level. But that's how I'm very proud of him today, the way he is doing it. I should say, please continue your journey towards educations, and I hope to see you one day in Swami's Institute, coming as a vice chancellor himself. I really pray that Swami gives you that path also to you. Coming to DM, brother DM, I understand, you have been in Swami's Institute, and then after that, there is a lot of journey which has gone through in your life. Now, how do you feel that, what is Swami's grace or Swami's guidance is there, both on your family as well as personally for you and professional way? Is it something which unseen hand is motivating you? Is it something which draws power from through Swami in various forms and various ways? Is it something which has struck you, that yes, any incident where yes, it is because of him, which is helping you to come out of the situation, either in personal or any professional way, which you can share, so that we all will know that he's always a guiding factor behind students especially?
Thank you, Bhuvan. Yes, so I think that is something which every one of us in the car, or every student which would agree with, right? I mean, they'll be living it, right? They'll be living Swami's grace daily. Right. In my case, like after I moved out of UG, I was in my native for a few years. Just want to digress and then talk about. There was a certain bhajan mandali back in my native, right? And that was led by she was a sannyasin. Her name is some Meenakshi Amma, and she was a sannyasin, right? And the way, so Swami kept me connected through that bhajan mandali, right? Because now in my native, there was no Sai organization, there was no what you call sevadils, nothing, right? So that kind of exposure was not there at all. Individually, there was some devotees here and there, but there was nothing. But Swami kept me connected through that bhajan mandali, and that bhajan mandali was something very different, because they have never seen Swami physically till then. Okay, so they have never seen Swami physically, and Swami used to show the presence in every bhajan session, like, there will be vibhuti, and then there will be kumkum as prasad. On Swami's birthday, appear in trance to that sannyasin, like, so, and then give her pada namaskar, right, and then say, like, and that was kind of, and then bless everything, that has been presented there, right. So we all used to make our besan laddus, right. We'll go and leave it there for as a prasad, right. I had seen the present. Swami had actually bitten that, and then you can see that gap mark, right. Swami's teeth, right, it has this gap, right. So I was seeing that, but so it could have been very different way, like, without me being connected, if not for that kind of, for that kind of people that Swami, that devotees that I came to know, right. It would have been, because I had to take a lot of effort to go maybe to a nearby city to join a seva organization and everything. But here it was like, Swami's thing was very, 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 very apparent. The grace that he used to give to the place was very, very apparent. And to her credit, she never used to intercede on anybody's behalf. Like, it's not like, she will ask Swami and then give you answer. Hey, like, this is like a temple. You leave your prayers here, Swami will answer it. So that was the way, like, it used to be connected. And through her, like, I was given the instruction that, you go to Bangalore in search for a job, right. So that happened sometime in 2002 or 2003, because I was trying for, basically, like, my situation, like, I was being pushed to search for government jobs, right, write those examinations, and which I was not at all interested, right. I mean, because, we are seeing a different thing, right. And that clash was going on, and so we resolved it through her, right. And then, that's how, like, I came to Bangalore, and Swami has been a constant presence throughout my my life. I think it's for everyone. I think 6-7 years back, like, my dad, he passed away, and since then, like, we could really see, and to share it personally, I mean, Swami had, like, even kind of given a clue, right, saying, like, my dad's time had come, right. Just that, we didn't read it right. Okay, it was like that, right. And then it was a shock, but then Swami was there holding hands literally to take us through that. And Pawan would know that, the job role that I kind of there, it let me work from my native throughout for the last, like, 6-7 years, and I have been working from remote even before the COVID times, right. It allowed me that, and that kind of was an immense blessing, because there are so many things that I had to be sorted out from my being in my native, and I could see Swami's guidance hand in every situation that we could. There are many, many more miracles, Swami coming in dream, and then so in our UG years, like, in the second year, generally, like, we asked Swami, like, what to do next, right, what major. So Swami had told me to take maths. Right, it wasn't a dream, right. So Swami told me, and then he also told me, like, what to do later, right. So all those things, so Swami's hand has been there throughout, and even if you're not able to do, like, he gives you the choice, right. So, I mean, one thing I feel is that Swami is with the students in whatever we do, right. I'm not saying this lightly, right. We can do anything, and Swami's force is with us, because he's Lord, right. He's the God, right. And that is, I mean, there can be any doubt beyond that, right? And that kind of reformation, I got it in that bhajan mandali, wherein, imagine, like, we are all close to Swami, we do the Padasiva, we go to Trajan, we listen to him, but none of that, right. Right now, like, these days we have a lot of audiovisual mediums. That time there was only a 1-hour session they will show in Raj TV, and that was it, right. And those people, that mandali, they used to see Swami only as God. We have, like, we have seen Swami moving very friendly with students, and then joking with us, right, pulling our legs, right. We have seen all that, but they see Swami only as God, and that kind of, left me a very deep impression about, I mean, right from coming out of the institute, like, it was it was a big eye opener there. and Swami continues to do that. That's what I would say. Like, no, whatever thing that we guys do, right? Not just our batch, every batch, we will succeed because Swami's force is with us, right? It's up to us to, like, to do the best thing, to do what is dharma, and we want to fight for dharma. You do that. And you want to make a difference to people's life. Go ahead and do that. Whatever is there, Swami is there to bless us, and that is incredible, right? And that kind of thing, like, over years, we have heard that in Brindavan, like, so Swami is always with you, with supportive, but 20 years down the line, you realize that, and something, you want to pass it on to your kids as well, saying, you do the right thing, do, like, Swami is there, the force of Swami, the blessings of Swami, the grace is always there. And that you can see in the career growth of a lot of people, in the personal life of a lot of people. That's it from me, Pawan.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, DM. I think one striking point what you made is connecting yourself to Samiti. Like, it's very important that we stay connected with the organization, because organization is something Swami has given a lot of value. Because Swami said that organization is a thing which is a guiding, like, like lighthouses which are there in a sea, where ships are going here and there. The lighthouse is the one which draws to the shore. If these summities are not there, or organizations are not there, what happens is people tend to forget it. People tend to wheel away the time of a Saturday, Sunday, doing something else. Now you see brother Satya and brother Venkat, every Sunday from past 1.5 year, they're doing this 5 to 6 India time, or 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Singapore time from past 1.5 year. Just imagine, if this kind of online session is not yet started, then what people would have done this 1.5 hours or 1 hour. They would have seen something. They would have gone for a movie. They would have gone for a shopping. They would have gone for a mall. They would have gone. But every Sunday they make sure that at least 10 people, 15 people, 25 people are being come together to have a small talk, learned, or lessons learned, or hear the experiences of various devotees or students community or anything. So that is staying connected. I think staying connected requires a medium. That medium is only through organization, nothing else. And Samiti is an organization. Let it be a small level Samiti, whether it be a major summities like Sundaram or Shivam or Dharmakshetra or anything, but at a zonal level, at a group level, I think these are very much important for all of us to stay connected, always also participate in their activities which they conduct. I'm sure brother Venkat is conducting a lot of Narayan Sevas in Singapore. I've been part of their group activities. It's a wonderful things they do it. So in that way, you have very clearly said that since you're connected with the organization, and Swami has made sure that guiding you through through the organization also, which is a very good point. I would take 1 minute or 2 minutes if any audience have any questions to post on a chat, or they want to ask any questions to our the guest speakers today, so that we have opportunity. It is 9 p.m. I understand at Singapore, so I will take one or two questions from the audience who have joined. Later, then we can go for the closing remarks. Brother Venkat.
Sir, if any one of you have got any questions, all I can say is, as always, we every one of us have got those unique experiences. One need not be a farm boy. One need not be, for us to come into Swami's fold itself, we are in form, as far as I see. The next part is form 2, form 3, whatever that is. So the very fact that all of us have come into his fold itself is the fact of so many janmas punya that we have done. And today's satsang, I would say, is something that connects to many of us. What brother Ashish said, what brother Satheshwar said, what brother DMS said as well. Uh, we need not be in the biggest of places. Everywhere you go, there is Swami. That is the beauty. It's not. I'm not a member of Rotary Club. I'm a member. I'm a side. I'm part of Sai family. Something that reaches out, that gets you connected before you even reach any destination. That is your connection. That is where we remain connected, and Swami has ensured that his love has reached the farthest of corners. So we don't need anything else than to be blessed being his children. And this satsang is just yet another reiteration that no matter how you are, the very fact that his grace is there to uplift you is all that matters. And all you have to do is be that cup receiving that grace and be in that bliss. And there's nothing more that I can say. Hearing all your uh, divergent experiences and how life has taken, it's always wonderful to reminisce. I have quite a few speakers from your batch also on this satsang. I can see them typing on the chat box. We have had quite a few from your batch, and I'm hoping more will join in the satsangs to come. And I'm going to
We have
add
Hariharan, brother.
Haryana to say a few words.
Yeah,
Haryana, as always, has been the person who has been instrumental. Anna, a few words from you, and then we'll close.
Yeah, it's not words I would like to tell anything special because these three brothers have been fantastic. What I found and the satsang it was from the total pure heart, though very knowledgeable, but with so much of innocence. They shared their inner thought to us. So that is the first step for a devotee, to be innocent. It's very difficult to be innocent like that. But what I found with these three of them, they do the conversation, I found what is so innocent, but at the same time, so much of thought process was flowing out. Number one. Number two, Brother Venkat was saying form one, but from that I understood Venkat is in full form today. That's one thing. And number three, I want to say Sai Manohar, brothers mentioned just now. Sai Manohar, I know him from the age of 1 or 2, like that. And I just want to share a thing with all of you because you took the subject, Sam. Of course, no doubt, he's a fantastic, fantastic boy. As you rightly said, he's very, very, close to me by heart. I'm very close to him also. The first bhajan mandali was made to form, and Swami personally instructed his mother's mother. So the first ever bhajan mandali in the world was he wrote. Swami asked them in it is early, little, in 1950s, like that. So Ham is coming in that family. So he has to be like that. There is no other go because Swami himself, they are very, very, very normal people. But in those days, Swami used to call his grandmother and, their uncles are there in Puttaparthi, Sugavanam, Sai Subramanian, Ramachandran, all of them are there. His cousin. Satya plays keyboard and harmonium. All of you know that. So, Swami first in this history, he told, go start Bhajan Mandali. So that was the first ever Bhajan Mandali started in the world with Swami's instruction. So that blessed is the family. So I hope you all will make Sam to speak in this Govind, Sai Govind Satsang. You all have to do that. Okay. And
sure,
thank
sir.
you all, brothers. You have been so wonderful. And I'm seeing all of you after I know you by face, of course. I have seen all of you. But today I'm so happy to see all of you. I was a bit late because of classes, but I thought somehow I should rest. And last half an hour I listened. Thanks a lot. My silence to all of you. Swami, keep blessing you all. So loving all of you. I can't say with words. Thank you.
Sai Ram, as always, every week the message is unique, customized, letting us know that the experience that we have is tailor made for each one of us. because none of us are similar to one another. We might appear similar, but each one of us are so very unique in our own way, and that is his Srishti, and he knows us better than anyone else. And that is the message that we get to hear week after week, and this week has been no different. Always
Okay,
grateful
okay.
to Swami for making this happen week after week with his grace. समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय.
Hey.
Hey,
Sai Ram, everyone.
thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Pawan. Thank you.